one of my biggest holdings just exploded overnight. I want to go through that, why this is happening, why I still don't think it's overvalued. And also, Bitcoin's looking quite good today. We typically see a bottom in September of the post-halving year, which we could have just seen. So this is going to be interesting. We'll look at what typically happens. We'll look at where we are in the cycle along with some of the top news right now. If you don't mind, hit subscribe so you can see future videos just like this one. Also, I've talked about my top holdings before. I talk about it more regularly in the Telegram and what I'm buying in there. I make a video maybe every couple weeks on what I'm buying now. And it's not always crypto related. Sometimes I talk about stocks. So if you want to check that out, it's linked underneath the video. It's completely free. So check that out. Also, if you want to trade crypto, I have a special bonus, a 10% deposit bonus for your first time deposit on BTCC. You can sign up with my link underneath the video. You can get lower fees, bonuses, etc. Also, if you want to trade on BYDeFi, we have this prize pool that's right around $28,000 right now. And this is going to be given away in about 5 days. So check it out. We run these constantly. So it's not just for new users. It's for everyone that signed up under my link. Look at Bitcoin, 111,700, just floating around a recent higher high, a local top. And we keep on setting higher lows and higher highs over the last about 4 days. This is good to see. Obviously, we have been higher in the past. I just made my video talking about how I was buying Bitcoin again for the first time really since the halving, so a year and a half, and I'm just slowly dollar cost averaging a very small amount of my income into Bitcoin to get back in the buying mode, because I had got my foot off the pedal for a while, but I grew my other assets. And it was funny, I actually got a lot of interesting reactions on that video. I don't think there are too many people that said it was a good idea. Either people said, you've missed out on buying this entire time, or why are you buying right now? You should not be buying. We're near the top, which I think I covered it pretty well in that video. But I'm going to just slowly dollar cost average just a small amount. Not even what I really want to buy, but just a small amount to get back into the buying mindset. And of course, yes, I could have bought some since the halving, and I could have bought it like 70,000 and then we're at 111, but it was already such a large portion of my net worth that I just took my foot off the gas a little bit because I wanted to build up other assets. So yeah, let me know if you're buying any down below in the comments. As you can see, this is a bit of a point of resistance. We saw some resistance back here at the same price back in July of 2025. And then we saw some support around this level at the beginning of August. So it would be nice to see a breakout above like 112,000, more of a convincing breakout if we hit 113.5, because we did see a rejection there in the past as well. The traditional markets are up today too. The Nasdaq's up 1%, very close to all-time highs, which we'll talk maybe why that is a little bit later in the video. But September 2, yesterday, we saw ETF flows of 333 million in Bitcoin, and 135 million of Ethereum was actually sold. That's kind of fascinating. We've seen Ethereum just take over for the last month. And now we actually have a $500 million difference where Bitcoin was actually bought and ETH was sold. So maybe some people going back to Bitcoin after this recent dip. The biggest buyers were FBTC, so Fidelity, IBIT, which is BlackRock, and then we also had a pretty big day from ARKB as well, ARK's ETF. Good to see some inflows again. Strategy declared a cash dividend for their preferred payable September 30, and they increased the dividend rate on STRC from 9% to 10%. Now, depending on if you're bullish on MicroStrategy or not, you could hear very different opinions of this. Some people might say, hey, this shows how strong MicroStrategy is, that they can even increase the dividend rate, and also they can buy a lot more Bitcoin with this because more people will want to buy STRC. That's the bullish perspective. From the bears perspective, hey, their debt issuance, or not debt issuance, but how much they're going to owe each year is going up, because not only are they increasing the dividend rate, but they'll probably get more people that want to buy this as well. So they're going to have to dilute shareholders even more. So it'll be kind of interesting to see how this turns out like a decade from now. But yeah, if you think Bitcoin's going up, again, this is just a more levered play on Bitcoin. I'm starting to think though that this is getting much more complicated, right? It's not just that they're selling some shares and buying some Bitcoin. No, now they have all these different obligations, which makes it more difficult to analyze the risks and rewards of. Now, I thought it was time to take a look at where we are in the cycle. This is the Bitcoin spiral 4-year cycle chart. It looks confusing at first, but I'll walk you through it. Each circle of this yellow line is 4 years. Every quadrant is 1 year, so time goes around in a circle. The red dots are bottoms, and the blue dots are new all-time highs. So there's only one red dot per circle, per circle around the spiral. And then there can be many blue dots because you can hit multiple all-time highs, but only one bottom. So we are here at the edge of the circle, getting closer to the edge of the circle. You can see we're in 2025, almost three quarters of the way through the year. This is typically when we see the peak of the cycle. It's usually in right around October, November, December, the last 3 cycles. And then we bottom almost exactly a year later for the last 3 cycles. Now we started to peak out a little bit earlier this cycle. Now back in 2020, we also started to peak out around the same time, maybe just a few months later. So some people are saying we could reach our peak a little bit earlier this cycle. Some people are saying we already hit our peak and we're just going to go down from here. Personally, I think the economy still looks pretty good. The stock market is fairly strong, I'd say. And there's a lot of excitement about AI. There's a lot of reinvestment. Looks like the Fed might start lowering rates. So unless we have some kind of major problem economically or some kind of black swan or something, I don't envision Bitcoin's going to crash like it's done in the past, especially with all this institutional demand. I think we could see a lengthened cycle. I could always be wrong, but if I am wrong, we would typically see a peak in this quarter, right? This next quarter, and then a bottom about a year later. Historically, Bitcoin finds a low in September of the post-halving year, then bounces off of it into the market cycle top that occurs in Q4. So a different way to look at it. This has happened the last couple cycles. You can see a bottom here, a drop of 20, 30%, might even be more actually, back in 2017. Another drop in September of 2021 into the peak. And then September 25, we've already seen that. You can see the lowest low, the local low from recently was on September 1. So if we just move up from here or just trend sideways, this would be true for the third cycle in a row. And it looks like, we have a little bit of a push up right now from Bitcoin. That's nice to see. Some shorts definitely getting liquidated here. Now, I also talked about an asset that is spiking, and it's actually Google. Google is one of my largest holdings. One of my largest stock holdings. It kind of pales in comparison to my Bitcoin position, but it's one of my largest individual stock holdings. And this judge issued a sealed decision in the Google online search monopoly case. So there was some question whether they were going to have to sell off Google Chrome, which is a big part of their ad business. Google Chrome itself doesn't make a lot of money, but feeds their ad business. And then also there's question whether they had to divest Android operating system in the final judgment. And they do not have to divest Android either. They do have to share some information with competitors to remedy the online search monopoly, which I honestly don't think they have a search monopoly. Well, I suppose they kind of do, but there are more competitors now than ever. So in a monopoly, the number one is dominant. Like they own the entire market, and there are no competitors that can pop up because they just squash them. They buy them or destroy them. They lose money so that the other ones get squashed. But Google has ChatGPT, which a lot of people, even Google investors, were concerned is going to pull away from Google's search business. They have a lot of competitors that are starting to pop up here and there, even Amazon, right? You go into Amazon, you search for things, and then buy them, which pulls away from Google's business. So while Google owns maybe 90% of search, there are competitors popping up all over the place. Seems like a lot of people are excited about this, right? Like all the different banks are increasing their price targets. $252, $260, $260, $224. They are putting them to outperform or overweight. Google itself, the stock is up about 8% here today on this good news. I still don't think this is expensive for Google. When you compare it to other assets, let's look at it. 23 next 12 months PE. So you have to pay $23 for $1 of earnings from Google. This is after it's up 8%. Let me just refresh the page here so that we get the most up-to-date numbers at $229. So 23 PE. The net income over the last 5 years has grown 24%. And this isn't like nitpicking a perfect time period. The last year, it's up 36%. So it's gone up more over the last year. Over the last 10 years, it's up 21% annually. So their earnings, their net income is going up 21% a year. After about 3.5 years, it doubles. Their revenue is going up 16% a year over the last 5 years. They're becoming more profitable. Their cloud business is growing still very quickly, and the margins are improving drastically over the last quarter. It went up to like 21%. So this business is quite profitable. Again, let's just go back to this. It's net income going up 21% a year. The S&P 500 is priced, let me just pull this up. It's priced at a 23 for PE. So about the same as Google, right? And it's growing at 9% a year. So with Google, you get something that's growing over twice as fast for the same price. It's got a great balance sheet, $95 billion in cash and $23 billion in debt. They pay a dividend. They've got great margins, some of the best IP in the world. Let's see what else. They have been buying back their own shares, 2% a year. So they're just throwing money. They have all this cash laying around, and they're actually buying back multiple percent a year. What else? They are, I think, the most profitable company in the world. They have $135 billion of EBITDA in 2024. So the most profitable company in the world that's growing quickly, has a ton of cash, pays a dividend. It's growing twice as fast as the S&P 500, and it's selling at the same PE. I think Google should be closer to a 30 PE right now. But I want to hear your thoughts on this underneath the video. I still like the company. I'm not selling any. I think this is a company that you can easily hold on to through thick and thin. And yeah, I've been buying for a while. Been buying for multiple years, buying very heavy during the dip back in April. And I bought for years before that. During 2022, I was buying this company hand over fist back when we saw those real low lows. I mean, this went down to $80, I believe. Yeah, it went down into the 80s. Now, it hasn't gone up quite as much as something like Netflix or Meta, but I still think, you look back at it a couple months ago and it was selling at a 16 PE, 15 PE. Now it's selling at a 24. It's great to see multiples expand. Like I said, it was selling much cheaper. Back here, you can see the valuation went down to like a 16, 17 price to earnings ratio. And now it's back at a 24. It could stay right at this level though, and it would still outperform because it's growing much faster. So you don't even need the multiple to go higher than 24 for it to continue to grow substantially, or for the price to continue to go up significantly. The net income, if it just stays at the same PE, over the last year, it would have gone up 35% just from the last year. So I think you can still win with this, even if it doesn't go up to a 30 PE. Let me know your thoughts, though. I know this is outside of what I usually talk about, but I do invest in stocks because they can outperform too, just like Bitcoin. They can do extremely well. There are multiple stocks that have gone up hundreds of percent, have outperformed Bitcoin. But I treat them as a more risk-off version of buying the market. I think of Bitcoin as a more volatile, more risk-on asset as of now that can fluctuate easily 10 to 30% just in like a week. Well, Google and Amazon have businesses and I think are a little bit less volatile. a little bit less uncertain, but I still love Bitcoin, right? That's why it is it's a larger holding for me than Google or Amazon or anything like that. But let me know your thoughts on all this underneath the video. Again, if you want to trade, check out BTCC and BYDeFi underneath the video. They both have some different bonuses going on right now. Thanks. I'll see you in the next one.